You know what, Robo Lawyer, we've been taking too long with these video clips. I've been looking at them. Some are up to 10 minutes in length. Now, when we started out, they were little short things, 2 or 3 minutes, and now they're too long. Yeah, okay. Anyway, in week 7 we look at marriage and family law in Australia. First thing we do is we talk about capacity of people to get married and marriageable age, what makes a valid marriage, and that's the conventional definition. And then we have a look at the history of marriage and family law in Australia. And it's interesting because the Constitution gave the Commonwealth power to regulate marriage and regulate divorce and matrimonial causes, but Commonwealth didn't enact legislation for a long time, quite a number of years afterwards. So at one stage we had the states doing, they had jurisdiction, they had their own legislation relating to marriage. So it was only with the when the Commonwealth enacted the Matrimonial Causes Act way back in 1959, I think it was, and it regulating divorce and remedies for problems with marriages. That's all very interesting as ancient history because it was all about matrimonial offences. That, look at that pencil dog. What are you doing, pencil dog? Pencil dogs. You've taken the pencil out and you're holding it with your whiskers trying to write. Oh, you're trying to write down what I'm saying. Oh, you're so good, pencil dog. Well, I don't know how much you're getting down, but anyway, back to our Commonwealth-State relations. So, Matrimonial Causes Act, and then came the Commonwealth Marriage Act of 1961, and it's been amended since then. But the big change came with the Family Law Act of 1975, and that was only one grounds for divorce after that, and that's very important. Now, when that Family Law Act came into effect, yes, it changed things quite a lot. It took all the fault aspect out of marriage breakdown. So Family Law Act 1975, and that's right, Robo. It's Family Law Act's been changed quite a number of times. There have been amendments. In fact, if you have a look at the sections, things like Section 90S and things like that. Well, the reason they do that is they want to poke bits in. So rather than go through and renumber all the sections in the legislation when it's amended, they just add letters to the section numbers to create new ones. Anyway, so that's been the situation. And for a long time, we had the Family Law Act applying to couples who had actually been validly married, but it didn't address the issue of people who were living in de facto relationships, and that's been and that was left to the sometimes it was the common law, and sometimes and then the states and territories all enacted legislation dealing with de facto relationships. But the most exciting thing that's happened this year is that the Family Law Act was been changed so that as of March this year, the Family Law Act also covers de facto relationships, and that's what's a de facto relationship is set out in Section 4AA. Now, what's that, Robo Lawyer? But that you're confused because it also covers couples of the same sex, yes. So here we have same-sex relationships being dealt with under the Family Law Act. Children in those same-sex relationships covered by the Family Law Act. Property disputes now covered by the Family Law Act. What's that, pencil dog? You want to know whether it's called a marriage. Well, in Australian law it hasn't been called a marriage. In the United Kingdom they've actually got the civil partnerships legislation which address the issue of same-sex couples, and the recognition, providing formal recognition and acknowledgement of the relationship. So yes, it's all very interesting, very exciting, and these changes, they just keep coming through. For the last few years, it's been changes all the time in family law. So this Family Law Act, that's the important one. It's certainly changed this whole area of law. What's that, robo-lawyer? You think you don't know whether people think it's a good thing or a bad thing? I think most people think it's a good thing. It makes it a lot simpler because family law is a very emotional area of law, because with relationship breakdowns people get very upset. Now you write there, pencil dog, let's see what you've written. Can't see much there. You're writing in invisible ink. Oh, you are so... pencil dog. That's why I can't see. You've been writing in invisible ink, everyone. Well, I think we've said enough for the moment. So we'll say goodbye for this week. So goodbye, Robo Lawyer. Goodbye, pencil dog. Okay, and we'll be back next week. I'll switch you off now. Okay, so switching you off. Okay.